Well, I can first tell you that F3 Uranium is a uranium exploration company. We're focused in the Athabasca Basin in northern Saskatchewan. Fission 3 has 16 properties that actually we explored and drilled on 5 of those in 2022. And at the end in November 2022, what you see on this slide is the PLN property. So in November, we commenced a drill program on what we called the A1 conductor. And in November, made a discovery. It's the latest higher grade uranium discovery in the Athabasca Basin. A really exciting discovery hole. You can see that red star. It was 15 meters of 6.97% uranium with 5.5 meters of 18.6% in the middle of that, within what was a structure, very attractive structure. So you can see the location of it. It is 25 kilometers northwest of Fission Uranium's Triple R deposit, that yellow star is on the bottom of the map, and NextGen's Arrow deposit, that's along what's called the Patterson Lake corridor. And you can see in the north part of the map, the Clough Lake and Shea Creek. Clough Lake was a deposit that was mined in the past. Shea Creek is a discovery of a uranium deposit there. And you can see that this new discovery is located very close to 25 kilometers from Triple R and Arrow, which is what's expected to be the area of the next high-grade uranium development in the province. There'll be a mill there. And so, you know, it's very well situated. Next slide, please, Jeremy, or Jonathan. Yeah, you can see that this compares the discovery hole at the JR zone with discovery holes of other high-grade deposits in the basin. And you can see that really it is quite an exceptional discovery hole. Next slide, please. So that's a picture of the drill core from the discovery hole. And that is a handheld spectrometer that measures radioactivity. And you can see that the instrument is actually off scale. That there was an ultra high grade core in the middle of that zone that was 59.2% uranium, and that really maxed out the instrument. Next slide, please. So there again, you see that is the discovery hole in the mineralized interval, and that's the core. And there's the assay, 6.97% over 15 meters, and you see the 5.5 meters of 18.6% and the ultra high grade core. So it's a beautiful discovery hole. Next slide, please. So what you see here is this is the drills next to the discovery hole. The big white mask is a sonic drill, and the on the right is a diamond drill. So what we did at PLN is there's 120 meters of overburden, which is very difficult for diamond drills to get through, to case through. So what we did was bring in a sonic drill to overcome the difficulties of putting casing through the overburden. It really has worked very well. So we use a sonic drill to get through the casing through the overburden, and then follow up with the diamond drill to get the drill core. Next slide, please. So there, this is a map of the property, and you can see on the right again is the PLN property. The green lines are conductors, and they are discovered by or defined by flying airborne electromagnetic surveys. And what these surveys pick up is graphite and sulfides within structures that geological structures that are reactivated. And then what we do know is that high-grade uranium in the basin, it's brought in with fluids that travel along these structures. And that's the beginning, the first step. And you can see that PLN, it's a very big property. It's roughly 100,000 acre property. And you can see there's several clusters of conductors on the property. The A1 conductor is the one where the new JR zone was discovered. So on the bigger side, left side of the map, you can see what the dashed line is, where the structure that hosts the uranium mineralization meets the unconformity at the bottom of the sandstone. You can see the drill holes. What happened is we started drilling on this conductor in 2014, and it's about a 3.5 kilometer long conductor. And we started at the south end and worked our way northwards. And in 2014 and 2019 was when we were drilling there. And hole 1419, drilled in 2014, hit a sniff of mineralization, 0.05% uranium. Well, what happened is the geologists, we saw all of the right signs to indicate to us that the hydrothermal fluids that bring in high-grade uranium deposits had caused, were present and had caused bleaching and clay alteration and the things that tell us that the potential is there for high-grade uranium. And that's why we kept coming back. When we reviewed at the beginning of 2022, we reviewed all of the previous drilling and recognized that things were improving to the north. And then understood that the 800 meters of strike length north of that 1419 that had the sniff of uranium, that was untested. So we defined that with ground geophysics, and which was ground EM and resistivity. And then the third hole of the November program hit that high-grade intersection. And what we've done since then is a 20-hole program that commenced in January to expand the zone. And that there's been a very high hit rate ratio with these holes from the current program, and we're overjoyed with really the growth that we've been able to accomplish with our drilling so far. Next slide, please. So now what you see is all of the drill holes so far, the ones in November, and the 12 holes that have currently been drilled from the 20-hole program that's planned for the winter. The dark bars are the assays. When you see, and they're on the map there, when you see those colored bars, that's the radioactivity. So we put out a news release a few days ago now, that where we announced really the significant intersection on a section line 45 south, which is 45 meters to the south of the section line with the discovery hole. And that intersected 21 meters of mineralization, the widest interval to date. And that had 3.19 meters within it with greater than 10,000 counts per second. That is what we consider to be high grade. So that is really very significant to find the mineralization over such a width. And then in addition, there was a hole reported, and you can see the southernmost hole, it's hole 52, and that again intersected the zone, and it's on a section line that's 60 meters south, a step out 60 meters south of the discovery, which means that the zone is now defined over a length along the shear zone in the northwest southeast direction of 75 meters. So it has a strike length of 75 meters north-south. And within the structure, which is dipping at 50 degrees, it's defined over roughly 45 meters east-west, which we refer to as up and down dip. Next slide, please. And I'll show you now cross sections, which are vertical slices along each of those section lines. So this is the discovery hole. So as I mentioned, the tan colored is the overburden that's so difficult to drill. That's vertically 120 meters thick. The yellow is the sandstone. And below that is the basement gneiss. This is the radioactivity from that discovery hole. Just to tell you, the significance here is that it's shallow. It's only about 225 meters from surface. And it's in the basement. So it's basement hosted so far. Next slide, please. So that now what you're seeing is all of the holes to date on the same section as the one you just saw, which is section line 0, which is the discovery. And so you can see the dark bars along the drill holes. Those are the assays, and the colored intervals are where we have spectrometer readings from the handheld that don't yet have the assays. But you can see up and down, the brown is the structure, the damage zone that hosts the JR zone high-grade mineralization. And you can see that up and down dip, it's roughly 45 meters. And in and out of the paper, it's now of the page, which is along the strike of the conductor, it's roughly 75 meters in length. Next slide, please. So now we're just going to step through the sections. This section is 50 north. And so you can see that we have intersected the mineralization to the north. And again, it's high grade. So the deposit continues to be open to the north. But next slide, please. If you go to 15 south, the mineralization was getting stronger towards the south along strike. Next slide, please. Then you get to 30 south, and we continued to hit the mineralization, roughly staying at the same distance from the unconformity. Below the unconformity, on 45 south, you see the wide intersection, 21-meter intersection within the shear zone. And the other thing that's important to note is because we use a sonic drill, we're able to drill shallow angle dipping holes. And so you can see that we're drilling the mineralization roughly perpendicular to it, which means that the intervals that we report are close to the true thickness of the zone. Next slide, please, is the southernmost one currently. And you can see that we again hit the zone on the final slide. So, if you now go, the next slide just gives an example of what the Triple R and Arrow deposits where feasibility studies have been completed on both these deposits that I mentioned or showed you on the map that were 25 kilometers to the southeast. Well, it's just to show you that the red is in a plan view looking down, and the images below are a cross section of the deposits. And so it's just to highlight that these high grade uranium deposits can have completely different shapes and orientations. And it's important to not presume to what it will be before getting after it. And luckily we've been involved in three uranium discoveries since 2010. And so, I'm very lucky to work with an experienced team of geoscientists, and so we're able to set about to grow this thing, and we've done that in a disciplined manner, and really in a very successful way in the current program. So you can see that arrow on the right is actually in 4 separate shear zones that are vertical, and on the left you can see that Triple R is really more elongated, and that there can be more than one pod of high-grade uranium along the structure so far, and so that potential exists at A1. But so far, we've just been expanding on the zone that we initially discovered, and we haven't found the end of it. It's open in all directions currently. With that, maybe I'll turn it over to Dev.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, that's great. I guess sorry guys, unfortunately, we had a storm in this area and knocked out trees and a few things. It took me a while to get back into my neighborhood. The thing that I, want people to leave with is that this project has had an amazing start with the crazy numbers they've had. The 59% uranium, and people get caught up with that. I get it. But also, most people that I was talking to, geologists, so they love the width. So, this project, the investors need to go to sleep knowing that it's a big discovery hole, maybe the best first hole ever on a start. Who knows? How far the records go back. But the question is, can a drill hole become a deposit? That's my question as a CEO. And I know that if anybody can do it, it'll be Ray and the team. In the Athabasca, you've got sandstone basement rock. And the Bible, according to the Uranium Bible back in, 15 years ago, everything had to be in the east where all the mills were, everything at the unconformity. We made a discovery there at the unconformity, the J zone, which we sold to Denison Mines. Over on the west, we found it in the basement. What is today's the Athabasca Basin was not the Athabasca many million years ago. All the glaciers receded in. So some places, we literally will be excited if the uranium blows up in the sandstone. If it goes down deeper, great. Our team knows how to handle it if it goes in the basement, if it goes in the sandstone. We've made 2 different discoveries. So, I don't know if everybody covered. Look, to me, the uranium is a perfect storm happening. Any day we get a black swan event that, U.S. is going to cut out Russian, and you watch what happens in spot prices. But I think the overall long story because nuclear power is the answer to 2 issues the world struggles with today: energy security. Do we have enough to turn our own lights on? And are we doing it in a clean way? Are we so security of supply of energy and decarbonization? So we got that on our side. The question is which uranium stocks? And I think, we're still in the growth stage. I can see down the road where we would drill enough, we do a PEA, and then, maybe we curve off. But I think we're in a great stage. I mean, you think about it, just in the last few weeks, you've got a zone now that's 75 meters. And we just did that in less than 12, 13 holes. So we're excited. How far south it goes, we don't know, which it's open in all directions. But you are in good hands with Ray and the team. And we've added some people to the team. So I think uranium is a great place to be. And I think our team is just starting. So for me to watch the stock, go to 50 one day and then get crashed to 30, why, I don't know. There are unfortunate investors who don't understand uranium. They do not come in big blocks of uranium, punch a couple of holes in, get a check for $500 million, and you move forward. Maybe in gold, maybe in other places. But uranium comes in blobs. And it can go vertical or it can go across like Triple R was. So you can't get excited about hitting here and assume you're going to hit there. No, you can't do that. You also can't get too depressed if you miss here. Oh, there's nothing there. No. There isn't a rhyme or reason how these blobs of uranium happen. So I just encourage investors to be patient. Those who want to sell their stock at 30 cents when they got a discovery they're making, that was their thing. But today the stock's back up to 45. If people are patient and give this team, I think there's a lot of rewards there without the help of a higher spot price. Now, if we get a higher spot price, fantastic. Well, that's just my comments as a CEO. It's a great, we have 16 projects. One is PLN. We're attacking one of the many conductors on this property. So we're asset rich, best technical team possible. I can say that because 3 discoveries. And we're well funded. So if you want to put a chip in the uranium space, we're good a spot as any. If you want to add anything, Jamie or Ray, otherwise we can answer some questions.
Hi, Deb. Thanks for joining us. I know it's been tough for you to get here today, so appreciate making it through. But when we were preparing for this evening, we had a very good conversation about the nuclear industry at the moment, and I think that was something that I think listeners will be really interested in you expanding on, if you could. So we've taken to the beginning of the presentation, and I think some of these slides here, I'll just pass over to you.
Whatever you like. The bottom line is I've been doing this since 1996. I could barely spell uranium, but thanks for smart people and kind people like, got me going first was Rick Rule and then eventually Eric Sprott and Peter Grosskopf and those guys. The 2 things I've never seen in my time was the Democrats, waking up and realizing, if we want to have all these insanely lofty fantasies of, Kyoto Protocol, zero this, zero that, everything they throw out. If we're going to try to get there, apparently we can't get there with wind and air. Sorry, wind and sun. It's not going to work. So that's one thing. So Democrats now are pushing nuclear because they realize it's a crucial part of that strategy. Or they woke up one day and realized, hey, 20% of all our electric needs come from, reality is nuclear is the only base load power that's clean. That's it. There's nothing else out there. You can blah, 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 give me lots of white noise. One source. No carbon footprint whatsoever, and it's base load. And that's crucial because when we all go home at night, we want to turn ovens on. Well, what if I said to you, no, sorry, young man, you can't put it on till 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. That's the only way that you can have wind and power, with storage is like 90 minutes. Some say 90 seconds. So nuclear is the only way we're going to reach to look, 3 billion people in the world right now out of 8 don't have a good source of electric energy. 1 billion is zero. 2 more billion have brownouts and stuff like that. So there's a lot of poverty energy wise. Hey, those people don't want to be poor. They don't want to be. Hey, they want lives like we do. So there's a bigger push for energy, and that's why we have the energy crisis. So nuclear does that. It provides lots of energy at base load power, and it does it without a footprint. So to me, I think that's the thing I've never seen before is the Greenies, the Democrats finally realizing if we're going to reach any of these lofty goals that we set for the Western civilization, we got to have nuclear. So it's a perfect storm for it. I think the Russian war obviously has an influence. Hey, is there? I'm a little shocked that the amount of blah 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 that I hear from all these folks, and America is still importing 50% of the uranium as we speak from Russia. So if they decide to say, okay, no more Russian, I think prices will go back closer to 70 because that's exactly what they're paying. The American government is paying a number of suppliers. They bought £1 million and they're paying up to $70. So I think that's the one black swan event that could trigger what happened, back in 2005 when uranium went from $15 to $140. And keep something in mind that the actual cost of uranium is a very small percentage of running a reactor, meaning uranium can go from 50 to 100, okay? And the bill at the end of the consumer is up 1 or 2 points max. When the price of coal doubles, the energy costs double right away because just a little bit of uranium is all you need. And it's a small part of the refining, processing, building a nuclear plant. So the fuel that, Ray and the team are looking for is a very small part of the overall picture. So uranium can go many times where it is, and it will not impact the end consumer, which is, meaning it's insensitive, which, it's good for those of us exploring for it if we do see these black swan events.
Maybe if you take some questions now, Dev, because there's some coming through, and it might expand on your slides here, and I think it's quite fitting actually that you've got a slide up there on reactors. And I think this is a question here, a good question from Mark, which is very broad, looking at the industry. But he asks, are we moving towards thorium reactors rather than uranium? And he asked about breeding reactors. And I think probably just trying to get your thoughts there on how you see things progressing.
I'm good at hiring people. And I know how to hire good technical people. All I can tell you is thorium. I've been hearing about for 20 years and zero progress. I struggle. I know India is using thorium and but the problem is, the system is built for nuclear, right? It would have to take a rehaul of 400 plants to to change it to thorium. From what I'm told, it's not as simple as, premium to basic gas. I'm just not an expert in that field, but I don't see thorium being an answer for a while. It's just so much money invested right now in nuclear plants in the Middle East, China, India, and I think we're seeing a small plant being built in Wyoming. So I think those are possibilities, but that's not my area of expertise. I'm a CEO F3. We're going to hire good people who find deposits.
Fantastic. So let's talk about the deposits, because the question here from Nicholas, who asks, does PLN have the potential to be as big as the Triple R deposits?
Sure. Well, I mean, I guess, ask me, I can give you an affirmative answer in about a year. But at this point, you can't say it has any potential. And more importantly, I'm never allowed to tell you what it is until I get a report from somebody that says you got so many pounds and et cetera. Look, PLN is a Triple R project is phenomenal. It starts at 50 meters from surface and it goes down. And, so I think it's a great project. We don't know yet if we've got shears, more like what Arrow is, or we are going to have, pearls on a necklace, like blobs that go like Triple R. We don't know that. But size-wise, I don't know. We are certainly moving at a quick pace. I think Ray can say, I don't think we got to 75 strike length this quickly with the Triple R. So we're growing pretty quickly. It's a great start, but
let me just add, Nicholas. I've got this. If you can see this slide up here, these 4 were the initial discovery holes of 3 of the largest deposits that are near us in the Athabasca Basin. One that I'm just going to focus on is ISO here. They took 2 years, and Ray, I don't know, was it 200 holes?
Yeah, that's
right. Right now, they have a deposit that's 50 million pounds. Next gen, I believe, is around the 300, and Fission uranium is 130 to 150. I'm not sure if I got the right one. So if you just look at our initial discovery hole and the CPS, like it's pretty high. So we've got lots of good high grade. But like Dev said, Nicholas, it's going to take some time and more drilling to get us to a number that we can tell everybody about.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to that, Nicholas. Look, we made the discovery, and it's basically the same technical team. Most of the members of the technical team were there for the discovery and definition of Waterbury, the J zone, and then we made the discovery of Triple R, and that was in 2012, so 10 years ago. Over that period of time, the deposit was grown over a period of many years, and then a PEA was done, preliminary economic, and then 2 PFSs, and finally the feasibility study is completed. So the team's taken it all the way. So that took more than 600 drill holes. What are we at? In this current program, there was 4 drill holes in November since the discovery, and now 12 so far. So there's a lot of work ahead to keep establishing the size potential of this thing. But if we go to how did we get to this discovery? Well, I told you that we started on the south end of this 3.5 kilometer long conductor. So we started at the south end of it and worked our way northwards, seeing all the signs that kept us going and saying, wow, this conductor looks right. It's got the hydrothermal fluids. It's got the signs that accompany high-grade uranium. So we got to this in this hole in 2014, drill hole 1419. And then in 2019, we drilled very close to that, very close to this sniff of uranium. Then now we did a 730 meter step out to the north. 730 meters to the north is where we've made the discovery. And the holes, there are a few drill holes between that, over that 730 meter strike length, but they are deeper than where we found the JR zone mineralization. So they would be below JR zone mineralization. So really that entire 730 meters, at least that 730 meters is prospective for JR zone mineralization. There's been no holes to say it's not there. So we don't know if we'd be overjoyed if it was that big, but it certainly has the potential. So far, we keep intersecting the mineralization. The geologists have established by carefully drilling on the first section line how far up towards the unconformity it goes and how far down the structure it goes. And based on that, we were able to step out and we continued to intersect it. We hope I don't know how big it will become. We're just going to keep setting about to be in a disciplined manner to grow it. And we keep in our minds that the possibility is there for flat-lying mineralization at the unconformity. There's a good possibility for that. And we started on line 0 to go up dip to the unconformity to look for mineralization, flat-lying mineralization. We did intersect in the latest press release. We intersected in the most up dip hole, but it was weaker. So at that point, we're now focusing on infilling on the section lines where we now have just one hole and continuing to extend along strike. So we'll just keep doing that. And eventually we're going to find the right place to go and test at the unconformity. But it's not about just haphazardly testing. It's about finding the most likely place, a target at the unconformity. Yeah. And as we keep drilling, we'll find that. So it has a lot of potential.
Well, we just don't know. I get 90% of the phone calls, 90% of texts. Everybody's trying to answer a question which there's no answers to. How big can it be? Well, it could be, like when I first started, I said our first hole could be the best drill we've ever had. It's unlikely mathematically, but the main thing is we've grown it very quickly. Asked investors to be patient. If it's there, we'll find it. I don't know if it's there. That'd be very presumptuous of us to think this is going to go. You don't know until you drill. And I don't want to mislead investors in thinking this is, like I said, I warned investors, it's not a big block of uranium. You punch here and there, you measure it, a little pencil. It doesn't work that way. Uranium, there's a very process of how it's formed in the Athabasca. It's globby, and you don't know. So we're obviously very happy, that we had a great start and we've expanded it. We've got another, 4 or 5 holes left here for the winter program. We'll get some more scent results. We've got the assays coming from the previous holes. We'll see. So lots of news flow coming up, and I think lots of growth. But, where it goes from here, we don't know. And I think it's silly speculation, middle of February, you just made a discovery before Christmas and say you're going to have, it's frivolous. But the story remains. It's well-funded, great project, great start, great technical team. Just be patient and where it goes from here. Yeah. And I don't know if we're out of time or what's the status.
We've got 5 minutes left, Dev, and there's a couple of questions that I want to try and get in here. So I'm going to go with one that's probably easy to answer quickly. Neil kindly asks, what's the long-term plan with PLN? Do you have any partners in mind you could bring in?
Yeah. The plan is to find a deposit on A1 conductor. I can't tell you what the plan is for PLN1 right now. Our entire focus is on the A1 conductor and see where it goes. If you're asking me to step back, I would say, we've always toyed with the idea of splitting the property up because it's so big. It's insanely large. We thought about it. If someone came to me with a great deal to develop the, some of the other conductor, like the broach conductor, I'd be open to that. To me, at this point, you control what you control, which is the money you raise and how we drill. We'll do that. But it's a big project. If I would certainly, it comes down to a good deal. If someone comes to me and says, hey, we would like to become a 9.9 or 19.9 partner, we like what you're doing, terms are right, and the board agrees, and we've got some good people to help us, advisors. Red Cloud, Peter Grosskopf, who started Sput. We have some super smart people around us. We'll make the right decisions. But to me, at this point, all I know is we got to work on A1 conductor. And the bigger we grow it, the quicker we grow it. Obviously, that's the best way. But that's only one conductor on a large property out of 16 projects. We're very asset rich. And I think the best technical team. Time will tell how many more we find. I'm certainly hoping for an F4. That's for damn sure.
Fantastic. Thank you. So we've got 2 minutes left, Dev.
Okay.
And this is more of a point from Gordon as opposed to a question, pointing out the supply of uranium's well beneath the projected demand. And obviously there's issues with Russia. So maybe for the last 2 minutes, give us your views on how you see that playing out going forwards.
Well, again, the problem with this industry is it's not transparent, right? And what governments do behind our backs, we don't know. But absolutely, we've been in a deficit for years, and we have been like, every year we produce about 40, 50 million pounds less than we have. But after Fukushima, Japan was selling uranium, not buying it. They were underfeeding reactors to get more. So that's how the gap was filled. That the opposite is happening right now. So to me, the price should go up because we're building more reactors. That's math. That's basic math. If you're building more, your deficit's growing. But the big black swan event is how serious the politicians in the US and Canada are going to take a stand against Russia. He announced that he's no longer going to be a part of that nuclear pact that they had, SALT, I think it's called, Putin said. So that was, people were shook up by that. It's an agreement between people with weapons, which is US and Russia. And he says he's not honoring it. So what does that mean? It's just, saber rattling, who knows? So that's the big black swan event that could drive everything as it is. If it happens, great. If it doesn't matter, we're growing this thing. Our stock will go up if uranium prices go up, and it's going to go up even if they stay still, because we have so much growth stuff. Growth stocks is what go up. Those who've always done what they've done, they will move up and down with the spot price, not growth stocks like F3.
Thank you. So, Dev and Raymond, thank you very much. And Dev, thank you very much for battling through the storm to make it here this evening.
Thanks, guys.
Okay,
Thank you, John.
take care now. Thank you.
Cheers.